Okay, so I have invited you here today because we are organizing this experience weekend at the end of August, and it's on, in a way, the art of receptivity. And um, and so I thought it was a good idea for us to have a short discussion so that people can get a context, women can get a context of what we are going to be doing and why, and why would they want to come and experience and enjoy. So maybe we can just start by explaining, or what is the receptive state? How do we experience it in the body?
Okay. So the first thing I like to include is that the receptive state is what naturally happens when we fall through the screen of our mind, because our mind can't feel. Our survival, what I call survival mind, which is continuously preoccupied into activating memories so that your survival is guaranteed, that mind is not receptive. And so the first thing we need to come into contact is the natural state of receptivity when we fall. And that includes being able to have a sensation of the bigger picture, of what I call the empty space, or what I call the where we are sitting in, which is the cosmos. I mean, only our feet and our bum right now are touching gravity and the ground. The rest is floating. So that emptiness, that space, it's key for us to begin to notice, and then the receptivity is there. So it's not something we have to acquire or go towards, but it's something that already is there. And in this inquiry, we'll be looking at how to open those spaces that already are inherent in us.
And so how do we recognize in our bodies that we are in a receptive state? What happens? What is the experience?
So, the first thing for us women is that we tend to have our energy upwards because we spend hours being educated. That means pumped with information, and that requires brain. And the intellect is the main tool of survival in our societies. So, we have forgotten our waist down experience, especially our womb, our hips, our vulva, and the earth and the legs and the feet. And often when we're in relationship or we meet someone that gets activated, we feel turned on, we feel excited by them, and it's just, we say, even butterflies in the stomach. So that activates that energy, and that's why it feels so good. So what the sensations are: feeling pulsing waist down, there is a heartbeat, there is a pulsing, there is an aliveness in the vulva, there is a moisture. And that state physically is connected emotionally with sense of belonging, because you're rooted on the earth, a sense of confidence that comes with it. If you belong, there is a sense of confidence. And then, of course, what I call the gift from being in belonging and in confidence is pleasure. It's like a buzz, is like a pleasurable sensation that is not coming from without in, but from within. And then it can be transmitted out.
So is this what you said earlier about, so we are floating up here, and when we are receptive we can experience, we can receive the cosmos? And so how does this relate with what you're saying about um, being rooted, being in our belonging, being...
So this emptiness, this space, this thing that Call it energy, call it, some people call it consciousness, some people call it God, divine pulse. We have many ways to describe the undescribable, because nobody, no religion, no tradition really can sign under the dotted line as to what it is this infinite about. And I mean infinite, I mean like infinite. I mean, our mind can possibly, we say the word infinite and we think, oh yeah, next. But actually, just pause on that one. We have billions of galaxies full of solar systems at infinitum. So that's big. And so that energy, as it comes into a finite, which is this little body that we have, whether it comes through human shape or whatever shape, it acquires the shape is based on earth, water, fire, air. The elements that contain this infinite, this energy inside is the elements. So on the one hand, we have the cosmic intelligence, and on the one hand, I have this body. And if this body is not grounded on its elements, I cannot contain, I cannot use, I cannot express fearlessly this energy. So of course it's going to be inside. Of course I'm going to be in this body, even if I don't feel my vulva and I'm not connected with the earth, and I'm in my mind the whole time. But I'm going to be missing. I'm going to be more kind of in needing to control and acquire beliefs. And that's kind of like a false confidence, because, I believe in something, then I can have the courage to do it. It's a false courage, because actually that's why so easily we can lose it. Actually, I'm not connected. I'm not connected on the earth. How can I cope with the infinite if my finite is not rooted? And we know that with trees. If a tree is badly planted, comes the first storm and it's out, or it grows all tilted and it struggles.
So that goes into my next question very beautifully, which is why would a woman specifically, because we are inviting women this time, want to live from that state of being?
Very good question. Because I believe if we look at a baby when it comes into this world, and a child, or a kitten, which at the moment I'm full of because I had two cats that have given birth to kittens, there is a pulse and an aliveness that's why we get besotted with them, because what we see is the uninterrupted divine pulse in those little bodies. And we see babies and little children, and it's like, so that aliveness that is beaten out of us through the educational system, and then we arrive to good adults with all the diplomas that we're supposed to acquire, but a kind of a sense of something has deadened in us. And it's basically a quality of life in which there is no suffering, because suffering happens out here when you can't meet the pleasure pain of being in this body. So when there is no suffering because you're not making it, but when there is a life experiences that are of a rainbow of shades of color, then there is passion. There is all the things we're looking for in having a partner, often, or having good a job, or having a lot of money. We believe that if we acquire things from outside, we're going to get to this happiness. And the reality is that people who have those things, they're not, as we know, people that we admire, the famous people, the rich, they go through the same or worse than the person who hasn't got much. Because it's not a question of acquiring, it's a question of being experiencing within life. And and that can only happen if you manage your body, feelings, and mind, because you're that energy that needs to manage. And that is what my offering is. How do we manage so that you can live these three bodies, so that you can live as the pulse you are in this incarnation. And then life, it's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so, how can we begin to cultivate that?
Well, I like to offer people the opportunity to remember first and foremost who they are. Because if you don't taste who you are, what would be the reason to start finding all these keys and all these different trainings to manage well your body, feelings, mind? You got to have an experience of the absolute aliveness and peace and power and joy that is. That is. It's not even yours. That is. And you can tap into that. So that's the first thing. And then how do you make that more and more into your daily reality? So that's the first step. And that's something that I bring to the people. I create spaces. I call it so that people can remember. I don't put anything in. I just create spaces so that you can feel what's already inside you. Yeah.
So, I think this answers my last question, which was going to be, what is it that women will receive in this weekend together?
So, uh, a profound taster of the sensations of erotic, creative power that you hold as a woman in your womb. And I feel emotional as I say that because I feel women mutilating themselves physically and trying so hard to find a lover, to find somebody that would love them. And what you will get from this weekend is that you are, and seriously, you are what you're looking for. And until you know that, you're a beggar. And I know it's a heavy word to use, but you're a beggar of beauty, of love, of connection, of sexuality, of everything. Or you are a rejecter, a beggar or a rejecter of that because it's causing you too much pain. So that's what I offer.
Mm.
You are what you're looking for.
Beautiful. I think this answers all my questions. I think it offers enough context for what we will be doing together,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm here as well for people to ask questions. And
Yeah. Another thing I want to add is that it is important for women to explore this alone without men. And once you got that ground, then the possibility of bringing men into the space and seeing how difficult, what different fields we create with them, because we are like in nature, the ones that attract the field and create the field. That's why life comes through us. So once that is established, we can actually bring a different field in the relationship where we can experience what we want to experience with a man. So, but if we come into this kind of work with already with the man, it's difficult for women to get clear as to what it is they have to anchor themselves before they meet the man. And then, of course, then there is a program for them to work with and all of that, but that's a different ball game.
yeah, yeah, that's good. It's good that you said that, because I get that question a lot. Why is it just for women?
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Okay,
I hope
so
to be able to come over. It's short
yeah,
notice
yeah,
in August, and of course I'll be coming over in November, beginning of November,
November. Yeah.
for the
Year
awakening,
long. Yeah.
which is the big journey ahead. And I just completed one here, and it's just like to see the woman is like a before and after, you know.
Yeah.
It's a joy for us and for the next generation to have awakening women. Yeah. So thank you,
Great.
Daphne.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And yeah, I'll stop the recording now and